Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Zanel Madonna and I'm glad you are here because today I am talking about my journey to being a chartered accountant, because you've been asking, so here I am telling you all about it. In all honesty, even though I did become a chartered accountant in record time, I have rich experience both in corporate and in academia, local as well as international, in audit, out of audit, and I'm also a director of a multinational company. Sometimes, in all honesty, I also sit and think, with all the other achievements, I just think, how did this happen? So I'm glad you guys have asked this, because we'll be tackling that today. So how are we gonna do this? We'll start in my high school days, how I decided to be a chartered accountant, up until when I qualified, and if we have enough time, we can be able to discuss about post articles. As I was about to start this video, I was thinking about, I remember in 2018, I was invited for a potential business opportunity. I still remember getting into that boardroom. It was a boardroom but full of like 4 people, because it was a confidential arrangement. And I remember the man who was holding the meeting asked me, he was like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm from Val." I thought it'll end there. And he was like, "Where in Val?" I was like, "Sebukeng Bitumelo." And he's like, he gave me that face like. And then the other people in the room looked at him and he's like, "Do you guys know where Bitumelo is?" So basically this man was saying, no one comes out of Bitumelo. Like, Bitumelo is like, if I were to explain it, I know most people know Alex. Bitumelo is like Alex, RDP houses, there's so many issues. It's a township. It's a township, and it is a township. For me, it has just been the township. I love it. I grew up there. But he had this, after I told him, he was so shocked. He was literally shocked. He was like, "I still can't believe that you have achieved so much because you're from Bitumelo." Anyway, so yeah, as I was doing this video, I was thinking, yeah, hey, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And the other thing that I was actually thinking about is, everything makes sense in retrospect. Everything makes so much sense in retrospect. And I was also thinking about the fact that in 2011, when I started Varsity adverts, when I started working as a tutor and I got my first stipend, I remember sending it home and I was like to my mom, why don't we have bachelor bars actually? Because it wasn't expensive. It was about 2,000 rand to install them. So I didn't understand, for all these years, why didn't we have bachelor bars? Because, high crime rate, especially in Bitumelo. And it's only then that I could understand that the reason we didn't have bachelor bars all this time was because a window was an escape. It was an escape for myself as well as my mom, because I grew up in an abusive household, just like most of the kids in South Africa. So I was really thinking about like, wow, I never, when you're growing up, I like how Trevor said, when you grow up in the township where there's poverty, you don't feel sad, like, "Oh, I'm poor," because there's so much love, there's so much to be grateful for, so you don't focus on that. So it's weird how, in retrospect, you're able to put the pieces together and you're like, wow, it's been a lot. However, let's start to talk about how I actually decided that I'm going to study and become a chartered accountant. In grade 11, I was chosen to be part of the learners who can go to a SAICA Tutuka camp, which is the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, their bursary fund, right? I went to the Tutuka camp, and in all honesty, I know, guys, I do understand that things don't just make a 360, but I can assure you that was the first time that my eyes were opened. That was the first time I got out of the township and I got to see what everyone else was doing. So we had all the students around Gauteng, and that had a huge impact because this was the first time that I was like, what? There are people who speak English every day. Hey guys, this was in 2009. This was the first time where I was like, what? Showers. Hey. So like, guys, that camp did so much for me, to an extent that I don't know how my life would have turned out had I not gone to that camp. Honestly, there are other contributing factors, but that was one of the turning points whereby I was like, there's got to be more to life. If I'm able to experience all of this, there's got to be more to life. And that's when I started going back to my school, and I started to prepare like I was competing with everyone in the country. That's when I started to not only, my benchmark was just here at that point, but that's when I started to just, set it up so high so that I can exceed my own expectations. So what I'm trying to say is that especially for people who are still in high school who are watching this, sometimes it takes one person who will expose you to something, or it takes a book that you read and realize that this is not it. There's actually more towards everything. And then you decide to change so many things. So after that camp, I decided researching more on the chartered accountancy stream. And I am so grateful. When they say that your circle matters. I had Feso. Feso was my accountability partner in grade 11 and grade 12. So he organized a trip to Saibono, where we would take the psychometric test to see which subjects we can actually be able to pursue. We went in a train. I think I fainted in the train. Lord, I just remembered now. But we went in a train because it was so long from Val to because this is not how train. From Val to Joburg, it was quite long. We went and then we took the psychometric test, and my first option was accounting, and I was like, because guys, remember, I was doing mathematics, physical science, biology, life sciences, geography. I was not doing accounting. The last time I saw accounting was in grade 9. So I was like, what? I can pursue this. I was like, okay, let me research more into this. So I continued researching. And in grade 12, I went back to the Tutuka camp, and I also applied for the Tutuka bursary fund, right? So fast forward, I was able to I was accepted into the fund, and they were going to sponsor me. So you can imagine, right? Obviously, in the townships, you've been thinking, I gotta do something. And eventually you get a bursary that accepts you, and you're like, this is it. I am on top of the world, right? So I was just thinking that at that point, that was like the happiest. Like I was really on top of the world. But when I look back a bit, I'm just thinking, other than me going to the Tutuka camp, what else was fueling me to actually work so hard? Because I told you that I changed my routines and all of that. And maybe you're like, girl, in one room. How did you change your routine in one room? Or what fueled you to actually accomplish all of that? In all honesty, I still remember another story, guys. So remember I told you for most of my childhood, I was in an abusive household. So eventually when I was in grade 10, we were able to move to Everton, from Bitumelo to Everton, right? Still one room, but now it was a shack. It was not an RDP house. And now we didn't have our own toilet. We had to share our toilet with so many other people, but nonetheless, we were happy. We were very happy, guys. Were there food? Not really. But what I did is that I used to bring porridge from school. So that's why when people are talking about lockdown and the kids who are actually depending on the feeding scheme, guys, I understand that, because we depended on the feeding scheme for such a long time. It was not only about only feeding me, but my family was helped through that. Like, we would eat that porridge. Like, our school used to give us like bags so that we can eat. So I truly understand that. If you can donate, guys, during this lockdown, that would be greatly appreciated, and that's what I'm planning to do as well. But anyway, I digress. With regards to that, life was great. But the point where life was great because we were happy in our one-room shack, the point where I was like, you know what, girl, you have to put on your big girl panties and do something. It's when, so just a brief background with regards to my mom. My mom is an entrepreneur, entrepreneur. My mom has been selling everything, really. Tupperware, curtains, acha. Acha is her favorite. My mom is still selling acha, guys. I know so many people are like, why are you selling acha? Your child is a chartered accountant. But my mom is an entrepreneur and she likes doing her own thing. And I do support her by all means, guys. I'm building at home, all that. But my mom just is an independent woman. So I remember this day because when we left Bitumelo, we left my stepdad and we moved to Everton. And I remember my mom coming with all this furniture, and I was like, my mom doesn't have credit history, guys. She's never really had like proper employment. She's been selling stuff. So I was like, how do you get furniture on credit? Anyway, time passed and I was grateful to have all of that. We even had a wardrobe that can actually serve as a wall between bedroom and kitchen instead of just having one room shack. So I was super grateful. But I still remember this day, guys, where, because my mom has been missing payments, obviously. If we are living on the porridge that I can get at school, obviously she's been missing payments. I still remember this day where the men from that furniture shop, they came. They knocked. I remember my mom going to the bedroom because she was tired of giving excuses. So she went to the bedroom and then she hid by the cupboard, the wardrobe. She hid there. And I remember because I was taking a bath just in the corner there where people can't see me, not in a bathtub obviously, and not in a shower, right? In a skotlolo. You guys know skotlolo, that's what we've been using. So I was bathing and I remember my mom just hiding there and these men knocking, talking to my sister, and they were like, we can't bear with your mom anymore. We're instructed to actually take the furniture. Guys, I remember just the sounds of my sister just taking out cups, taking out plates from the kitchen cupboard, putting them into the buckets, and these men just taking the kitchen cupboard, and my mom was just sitting there by the wardrobe. Just, she wasn't crying, but her face was like, when you feel like you can't do anything anymore. And that's when I was like, girl, you gotta do something. I was about, 16 years old? I was like, you gotta do something. Like, now, it's really not just about you anymore. And that's the thing, guys. If you educate a girl, if you educate a child, you are helping the whole nation, guys. The whole nation. So, that is the point whereby I was like, I have to do something because this woman can't be alone anymore. I have to do something. So that really fueled me. So that is why when I got my results eventually in January 2011, I was like, this is it. I am there. You can't touch me now. I'm going to help my mom. My mom doesn't have to struggle with all of these things. We can't be eating porridge for any longer. We can't be struggling, I was super, super excited. And I still remember like a few days before I had to go to vets, I was like, okay, let's make plans, pack clothes so that I can leave. And we sat with my mom, and my mom was like, so we don't have transport money so that you can get to vets. And and transport was about 22 rand so that you can get to Joburg. My mom's like, we don't have that, and you're carrying so many bags, of which I also didn't have the luggage to carry anything. I think we only had like black plastic bags. So she was like, you don't have bags, we don't have bedding, and most importantly, I didn't have toiletries. So my mom was like, we gotta do something. So my mom, being the woman that she is, she was like, next day we're waking up early, we're going to town, we're gonna figure this thing out. And I was like, okay. Remember, I was about 17, about to turn 18. We bath in the morning, we actually go to town, and then we get to town. When we get to town, I thought, maybe my mom got money from somewhere and then we're gonna buy these things. And then she was like, no, I don't have the money, but we're gonna find the money today. And I was like, what? So we spent the entire day walking from one microloan place to another microloan place, and everyone was just like, nope. And my mom only wanted about 500 rand, but everyone was just like, nope, no credit history, and all of these things. So I remember we walked like the entire day. We didn't have food at all. We didn't have anything. And at around past 4 to 5, when stores, everything is about to close, my mom just looked at me and she's like, yo, which means we don't have transport money to get back home. So my mom was like, okay, we'll have to humble ourselves. Don't worry, you can stand here. I'm gonna go to the robots and ask for money so that we can get back home, because and that was so weird for me, because in all honesty, in as much as there was yes, I grew up in poverty, but my mom is always finding a solution, and she never had to go beg for money. She never had to be there on the streets begging for money. So that was so different and very, very painful for me. Like, I was just like, how here I am thinking I got distinctions, I'm on top of the world, and here I am, I don't have 22 rand. Well, yeah, 22 rand, guys. We honestly didn't have it. And as my mom was about to walk to the robots, she got a call from one of the microloans, and I think they gave her about 300 rand. I remember, guys, just running so that we are there before they close at 5. We were running, and we got there on time. And when we got there on time, we got about 300 rand, and then we were able to go back home. And so yeah, guys, just like what they say, it takes a village to raise a child. So because I was in the papers, because I passed well and all of that, so my primary school teachers reached out. They were able to buy me bedding, toiletries. My high school teachers drove me and my family to Vets Res, and they paid for my pre-university accounting school, because I didn't do accounting in high school, so that is why I had to go to pre-university accounting school, and I didn't know that my bursary can offer it. And guys, remember, ask if you don't know. So yeah, that was it. I got to Varsity. So now we go on to the second chapter, which is my Varsity life. Where do we start? Where do we start, guys? So remember, I was at a township, right? Public school. Who was speaking English, guys, there? No one. Maths taught in Sotho, physics taught, everything, English taught in Sotho. And in all honesty, I respect my school. I'm proud of the schools that I went to, and I do understand why things are the way they are. But here I was, first time in Varsity. I've never spoken English fluently for such a long time. Guys, it was a struggle. Like, I remember, before I can talk to my roommate, I had to sit and think about, what am I gonna say? I had to sit and think. And the other thing is, remember, who uses a computer in the primary school? In the public school, I mean. Who uses a computer? What is a laptop? Hey, guys, What is a laptop? So, guys, that's why I started the Novalo Learning Center, because I know how it feels like, and I really want to provide support to most of the students that went through what I went through. So guys, I remember going to, because I was at JUPS. So if you are at Vets and you are at JUPS, or if you know about JUPS, just comment down. Or maybe if you're at Sunnyside, just comment down below and tell me how is JUPS now. So JUPS is the residence where I used to stay. I remember, guys, waiting for the computer lab to be, to be empty so that I can go and start to like be on the computer, because I didn't know what I was gonna do. I remember just logging in and I had to put in my email address. So I wanted to press add, but I didn't know that I have to press shift, 2, so that you can go to add. So I sat there for about 20 minutes because I was alone. I waited for the computer lab to be empty. And I remember this girl just walking in and I was like, I'm not sure how to do this. Please help me. And I'm glad I did, guys. So remember, if you just got to Varsity and you are not used to all of these things, guys, you are not used to speaking English, butcher your English, because you can write it down, but sometimes it's just articulating. Butcher that English, and if you don't know anything, ask people. That's how you learn, guys. So I remember that girl showing me that, and I was like, yeah, Shem, yes, we arrived. We definitely arrived. And I'm so grateful. I am really grateful, because for my undergrad, in all honesty, my undergrad wasn't a hassle. I just had few challenges. For example, for most of the first year, my mom was very sick. My mom, she even lost so much weight. Like, my mom is a beautiful African woman. And my mom she was wearing, like, I wear about size 28, 26, 30. Whenever I would go home, she was wearing that size. And my mom, she's in, size 40 something. So that was very challenging to deal with in first year. And also I was dealing with accounting for the first time. So there were so many things happening. But what I want to say is that everyone has a different story. And regardless of what we're going through, we have to make it work. Because I had to sit there and think, I can't be that girl. I don't want people coming to take our furniture anymore. I don't want my mom begging for money. I just, I don't want to go through all of this over again. So I just had to make it work. And just like what I said at the beginning, I was able to tutor and I was able to send money home to do little things like installing butler bars and all of that. So yeah, that was my first year. My undergrad, in all honesty, it went well. Why? Guys, I didn't party, and I'm not saying partying is bad, but for me, I just had a relationship with my books, and I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about anything else other than studying. Did it pay off? Yes. Dean's Lists, awards, Golden Key, all of that. Yes, it did pay off. Do I regret anything? Not much really. Not much really. If you are partying, would I say stop that? If it interferes, obviously, yes, stop that. But if you're able to balance it out, there's nothing wrong with that. So my undergrad was fine. My undergrad was honestly just fine. I performed very well. And then, let me sit for this one, guys. I need I need to sit and be comfortable to talk about this. CTA happened, guys. Do you understand why I have to sit up straight? So CTA happened. Wow, guys. Wow. CTA happened. CTA happened. Anyway, I'm not gonna talk about the technical tips now. So my journey in CTA, guys, I remember, because undergrad really didn't give me a problem. I remember, because I am that person. Once I set my mind on plan A, there is no plan B. Plan B for what? Plan B for what? So I still remember that when I started CTA, because I was with Tutuka, so they were going to allocate me to a training firm. And I knew that they prioritize the banks first. And once the banks have been allocated students, you can be allocated to any other, like your audit firms and everything else, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into this bank. Guys, I saw myself doing my articles at that bank. Nothing, like, I prepared for so long. I did research. I knew that I'm gonna do my articles here, because remember, even before I came to Wits, when I was in high school, I only applied to Wits. I was like, I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna get it. I'm definitely gonna get it. And again, if you are in high school, don't be like me. Apply for as many universities. You don't want to risk it. You have to have, like, you need options. So don't be like me. So again, in CTA, I applied the same formula. I was like, I'm just gonna focus on this bank. I don't want anything else. I just want this bank. And can I tell you guys, for the first quarter of CTA, what happened? Zanele was sitting on 35% average. 35. So, do you think that bank took me? Guys, do you think that bank took me? So I went for interviews. They really liked me, because I remember they were concerned about my marks, but they even called me for another round. And when they had other interviews, they called me again. So I was building a great relationship with this bank. But my results, like, they obviously thought, this girl's not gonna leave CTA. Why are we here? This girl is not leaving CTA. Hey, we will not see this girl in 2015, maybe in 2016. Because guys, it was rough. So the bank obviously rejected me. Obviously rejected me. But what I want to speak to on that point is that God always prepares you for bigger things. You know, when you're going through that period where you feel like, why am I being rejected? Am I not good enough? Okay. I think I wasn't good enough because of my grades. But you go through so many things because you thought this is it, this is how it's meant to happen, and then you get there and it's not happening that way. What do you do? So for me, honestly, it crushed me. But in retrospect, you know, you can only connect the dots when you look back. In retrospect, guys, that bank rejected me, and that bank focuses on the SADC region. It's big in Africa. But what's happening now? 2020, what's happening now? I am working for a global bank, right, guys? It's one of the top 10 in the world. So guys, never think that, you know, this is the end, no one wants me, you know. Never think that, because God is preparing you for other things. Really, God is preparing you for greater things. So that's just to affirm that it'll happen, but it might not happen at the rate that you thought it would happen in. So yeah, guys, I got allocated to a medium-sized audit firm, of which I loved. The moment I walked in, I really liked it. But however, I'll create a video on choosing audit firms, because I was a Tutuka student, so I didn't have much choice really. But I'll cover it on that video. Now we're just gonna talk about my journey, my particular journey on the softer stuff in comparison to the technical stuff. So that was one thing. That bank rejected me. Secondly, if I can think about it, when it comes to the emotions and stuff that you go through in varsity, I remember June exams, guys, CTA. I still remember. So remember I told you that my relationship with my books was everything. Everything else that was happening in my life, it's like I had water claps, guys. I didn't see anything else that was happening. I was just focused on my studies, especially in CTA. I didn't care about anything else other than just CTA. So I had a boyfriend that I've been dating for about 4 years. I remember my friend Jessica. If Jessica Maseko was watching, friend, hello. I remember Jessica saying to me, because we used to study together, and she was like to me, friend, do you really have a boyfriend? And I was like, I do have a boyfriend. But in all honesty, I wasn't investing much in that relationship. So when I was in fourth year, I remember going through my junior exams. I haven't been talking with my boyfriend then, who was actually doing his internship in Cape Town, and I was in Johannesburg. So I remember this other time we were studying for junior exams. We just came back from the study rooms. I was going to my room to nap so that I can be able to wake up later to study. And then before I nap, I'm like, let me check on the dude just to find out how he's doing. So I called, and the guy was like, you know, giving me those, who are you? Who are guys? And so obviously, to cut the story short, the guy was like, you know, it's over, and you didn't even realize that it's over. And I was crushed at the moment. So what did I do at that point after hanging up the phone? I was on the 11th floor at Juice. I still remember my room number. It was 1134. I walked to the 9th floor, which is where Nomsa was. Nomsa, my friend, because she's so warm. So I went to Nomsa and I just cried. I was like, you just dumped me. Like, you know, those ugly cries. And Nomsa hugged me. And after she hugged me, for about 5 minutes, I went back to my room, cried further, and I just took a nap. And believe me, guys, after taking a nap, I woke up, I studied. It's only in January where I was like, oh, I don't have a boyfriend. So what I'm trying to say is that when you go through CTA and all of these years that are challenging, so many things are going to happen. And I understand that my situation wasn't the worst that can ever happen. Maybe you might lose your parent. So many things can happen. But it's very critical that you actually focus on the goal. It doesn't mean you just leave behind what is happening the way I did. Find a way to deal with it, and find a way to deal with it whilst you're working on the goal. Because what's going to happen? If you fail CTA, you have to come back next year and do the whole year, all 4 subjects again. So what I'm trying to say is, regardless of what is happening, guys, eyes on the prize, eyes on the prize. Because regardless of what's happening, when you get to the prize, you'll be able to actually help with so many things, rather than just being in that situation and sulking and not helping anyone. Eyes on the prize, guys. So that is something that I wanted to share on CTA. And lastly, before I went to start my articles, one of the highlights actually on CTA. Remember I told you that I was on 35% average, 38% average. I still remember getting my year mark. I still remember I was with Nomsa and calculating how much I needed so that I can pass financial accounting. And maybe that's why I really love financial accounting and IFRS, because I had issues, guys. Like, I had issues in CTA with financial accounting. And I needed something crazy, something like 75%. I needed about 75% so that I can pass. And throughout the entire year, I didn't even get 50. Where will I get the 75? Where will I get the 75? So I remember, guys, I actually sacrificed everything. I didn't go to my honors ball. I didn't go to anything. I didn't go to the weddings at home. I literally stopped everything so that I regroup and, you know, continue with this relationship with CTA. I still remember I blocked everything, and I was just, you know, just waking up, eating, study room, eating, nap, waking up, eating, you know, basically that's what I was doing towards the exams. And I remember we wrote, and after we wrote, guys, I'm just gonna get back to saying your circle matters. Who you associate yourself with in varsity, it matters. In life, it matters. Because I remember after writing all 4 exams, I knew that the other 3 I passed. And I knew that accounting for that exam, I passed it. But I knew that when they combine my exam mark with my year mark, there's no way it's gonna get to 50. I knew that for sure. So I was praying that I'll get a SAP, right? So I got together with my friends. I remember we went to Pam's room. I've spoken about Pam in one of these videos. I went to Pam's room, and there was Nomsa and there was Katleho, and we were sitting and we were thinking, financial accounting, because we're all so not sure about financial accounting. And it's not like it was just us. You guys know CTA. Most of the people were not. I'm grateful that I was with people who were so proactive. So we just finished our exams, and most of the CTA students are just moving out of rest because they're done with the exams. They're just waiting for the results. So Pam came up with this brilliant idea. She was like, let's not go back home. How about, because when they release the results, your sub date is usually 2 days or 3 days after. So Pam was like, we have about 2 weeks before we get our results. During these 2 weeks, what if we actually study so hard for the sub so that by the time we get to the sub, we are ready? And everyone was like, brilliant idea. So we had this plan where, because remember, your CTA exams start well in advance before everyone else starts writing. All the undergrad students haven't written. So by the time they are writing, we are done. We're waiting for the results. So what happened is that we didn't want so many questions from so many people and so many distractions. So what we did is that we would sleep during the day, and then in the evening would go to the dining hall, fetch our food, take the bus to the medical campus and study there for the whole night, or take the bus to the business campus. Are they in the same building? Okay, this is you know what I'm talking about. It's like it was actually the business campus. So yeah, guys, we did that for the entire 2 weeks. We also invited people. Other people didn't come, but we did that, and it really boosted our confidence. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that whatever you're going through in CTA, be proactive and associate yourself with people who are also proactive. Because what happened is that we did get our CTA results, and then, as predicted, we passed the other 3 subjects, but we had a sub for financial accounting, and we were writing financial accounting in a few days' time. So by the time we were writing, we were ready, right? So guys, I still remember when we started our ITC board course, we were at UJ, and that day, the first day we were starting ITC, was the day when we were expecting our sub results. So that day, I remember I was with Nomsa, my friend, and we're sitting in the lecture room. And remember, nothing is getting in. When the lecturer is speaking, we're just thinking, did we pass? So what happened was, like, after an hour, we just decided we can't take this anymore. We're not even focusing. And they didn't even give us the ITC board course file because they didn't know whether we passed, and we can only collect the files after we have received our sub results. So what we did was that we just went to Campus Square. So if you're at UJ, if you always go to Campus Square, comment down below, how is it? So we went to Campus Square, and then we just window shopped up until we got our results. Really, there was nothing else we could do. So we got our results, and I still remember when we got the email on our phones, and we opened it, guys, and we were screaming at them all because we passed our SAP, our financial accounting SAP. And guys, this was the first time I ever wrote a SAP in my entire varsity life. But I'm glad I was proactive, and I'm glad I was around people who were positive, and they were such a great influence in that. So if you don't have such friends, you need such friends now. You really do need such friends. So guys, that's the story about Varsity. So eventually I made it, and I went to start my articles at a medium-sized firm. But this video is very long now. So what's going to happen is that I'll have another video where I expand more on my journey doing articles, and I'll talk about different training firms and if you have options, what you can do now. But with the time that we have now, I'm just gonna sum it up quickly. So when I started my articles, remember, I went to do ITC, and in all honesty, I remember receiving my ITC results. Guys, today is Sunday the 29th, and I know ITC results came out on Friday, and there's so many people who didn't make it. The pass rate wasn't good at all. But what I'm gonna say to you is that June is around the corner. June is around the corner. And what happened is that I had to attempt ITC again. And when I called my mom to tell my mom I didn't make it, you know what she said? My mom was like, why are you surprised? You were here in December relaxing. Why do you expect to pass ITC? My mom is just, she was like, it's fine, you didn't study. Why did you expect results if you didn't study? And in all honesty, I didn't study much for ITC for my first attempt. I was so tired of city and everything, but that is an excuse. I had to do something. So I prepared for my second attempt, and I will definitely have a video where I talk about preparing for your second attempt in ITC. So guys, yes, I failed ITC when I started my articles, and there were certain issues that I had, or rather problems in articles. But just to touch on it quickly, there are certain things. For example, obviously I've been a breadwinner at home, so you're getting this trainee salary which isn't much. You are a breadwinner. You need a car because you're in audit. You need an apartment in Joburg. You need clothes, you need food, you need electricity. So the reality is that you'll get into that. The reality is definitely that you will get into debt. So on my next video, I'll touch on the tips on how you can survive financially when you're doing articles, and also getting out of debt, because your girl is debt free now. So I'm not gonna say a lot about articles now because we ran over time, but however, on my next video I'll also be talking about how I struggled with confidence when I was doing articles, and also what I did to overcome that, and my plan post articles. So now we're just gonna wrap up everything. And I'm glad you watched this up until the end, guys. I'm really glad you watched it up until the end. And yeah, that is my journey towards becoming a chartered accountant. I qualified at the end of 2017, and believe it or not, the moment they signed me off, that's the time I actually registered. I didn't waste a minute. I didn't wait for next year. Like, guys, the moment they signed me off, I just registered. I didn't care that it was December. I can wait for next year. I just registered. So even if you can look at my my certificate, it says 2017. But yeah, so guys, please comment, please subscribe, and tell me if you would like me to talk on any other thing, because now I've jotted down that I have to talk about my articles a bit more further, so that this video is not long. Getting out of debt when you are doing your articles, choosing training firms, I'll get into that. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Chapeau.